Have you ever wondered how to pick out the right bit for your horse? Then you're going to want to watch this next episode of Equine VIP. We've caught up with certified bit fitter Tara Graham. Okay. So Tara, like many of us, you loved horses from an early age, and how did that get you to this?
How did that get me to this? Well, I think it was probably my own mare, who I still have, that I bought as a 6-year-old off the track. I bought her from a racing barn in Yorkshire. And she had horrible bit anxiety when I met her. She still does to a certain extent. And so I spent a long time being told that's just bad manners. Put a flash noseband on, send her forward. And I think deep down I always knew, no, this is about a bit more than bad manners. For it to carry on for this long and for her mouth to be this fussy for this long as her training progresses, that's about more than bad manners. And then after I learned how to do this and actually fitted her, I was like, I'm so sorry. Some of the
I owe you an apology, right?
I owe you a massive apology. Like some of the bits in my tack box should never have gone in your mouth.
Well, you know, before I set this interview up, I was looking at certified bit fitter. Okay, there's not many. You're, you know, it's a really specialized niche. And what does it take to be certified? Because your background is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
What you've studied about horses and their head and nerves, and I mean, please tell us about that.
So I think really it does take a lot more than just understanding the actions of bits. That's my approach to it. Like when I'm fitting a horse, I'm not just looking at their mouth, I'm looking at the way that bit affects their entire body. And as research progresses and as science progresses, we're starting to wake up a lot more to how the bit literally affects the whole half-ton animal that's underneath us. So that was my approach to it, right? But I honestly think if I come along and I fit a horse and those problems are still there, if nothing else, that owner knows they need to focus elsewhere. You know, we can confidently say, this is not the bit, this is something else, right? I'm more than happy to tell a person, your bit's not the problem.
Okay.
Don't go buying a new bit.
Save
that and put it towards whatever else this horse needs, right? You have to be out for what's best for the horse, not what's best made off a bit sale, right? So it's not like there's tons of money in selling bits. There isn't.
Right.
So I've never really taken it at that approach.
I was watching you today and watching your process. How does that start? Okay, you look at the anatomy of the horse's mouth, and you also, when you travel at these clinics, you bring Hank to help illustrate. So how does it start for you?
How does it start for me? The process of fitting a horse. Sometimes I watch them first, right? I don't always go straight into oral, an oral examination. Sometimes I will watch them be ridden to see what the rider is working with and to see what kind of evasion is going on. That's quite important. Ultimately, I am relying a whole lot on feedback from the rider, though.
Well, I have a highly trained upper level horse that can basically do everything, but our biggest problem has been the connection and contact. So I've played with a lot of different bits, and I know the horse can do it, and I've watched other people, so I know it's partly me figuring out my own seat and the way I use my body. But I'm kind of wondering if there's something with the bit setup and if there's some help I can have with making it so it's comfortable for him. Does he have a fat tongue with skinny tongue, big lips, little lips, a big arch in his palate or not? And this bit fitter sounded like she had a lot of these tools that we would need, not to mention sort of the osteopathy with the bone structure. And already this morning we've learned how much some of these nerves and bones even they touch a nerve in the hindquarters. So I think it's really important, and it's just another tool in the toolbox, and she seemed very capable and competent, and I can't wait to hear what the diagnosis is on how my current setup is working and how I could improve it to make the horse more comfortable.
if I can check the box of are they comfortable, if I can then check the box of what does the rider want in terms of improvement in their feel, and then if I can get a happier horse and a happier rider by the end of the fitting, I know I've done good.
You've done your job.
I know I've done
Yeah.
good, right? So,
Well, I was thinking as I was watching you, okay, you're not sedating any of these horses and you're putting your hands in their mouth.
yeah.
Okay, that was pretty impressive, just that alone.
Yeah. Well, you know, a few trainers have said to me, "You're brave," to which my reply is, retraining horses that you know nothing about and taking them over their first sets of jumps, that's brave.
Yeah.
Like, if you understand their mouths enough, you know how to stay out of the way of their teeth.
Okay, that makes sense.
Obviously, I've had some that have been known to bite or whatever, so you kind of have to read the horse, right? It's very important for anybody that works with horses. Read the horse.
Right.
I also don't tend to put a lot of pressure on them. You probably noticed that when you were watching me.
I did.
I don't grab a hold of head collars. I don't grab a hold of their head. You know, if they want to get away from my hands, they're welcome to. I'm not trapping you. I don't know these horses, right? So, but I think if you've been around them long enough, you just kind of have that innately,
Sense.
right?
Yes,
If you've
yes.
worked with them and things like that, you know to
Yes.
read a horse.
What
So-
would you say is the most common issue? Is there a common issue that you come across?
A common issue, really the most common issue out there is horses in bits that are not suitable for their mouths
Right.
at all. I think we're getting better at sizing them in a width kind of way. A lot of barns now have sizing sticks, and many of my clients, I'm like, oh, you have a sizing stick, you know.
Yeah.
I think we're getting better at that.
Yes.
But their mouths are all so very different. Their mouths are
Really?
just as unique as ours. And there's not really, you can't really generalize about breeds and things like that. There's literally been studies on it that prove there's no correlation between breed and age and things like that and their mouths. Their mouths are very different. So what they can accommodate is therefore very different. But then you will get the ones that like to humble me. I've had
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
You'll get the ones that like to humble me, and I'm like, oh yeah, this bit's going to be great. It's suitable for their mouth. It's going to give the rider what the rider wants, and
Yeah.
you put it in the horse's mouth. Horse hates it. So you're like,
Okay.
okay, back to the drawing board.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
try something else.
Yeah.
I think it's important to hold space for their opinions. This is their mouth we're talking about. It's the most sensitive part of a horse's body is
Yeah.
their mouth.
Yeah.
But the most common issue out there is just horses in bits that are not suitable for their anatomy at all.
I am so impressed because there are thousands of bits out there.
Thousands.
Yes, and today in the clinic you did today, they were English riders, but you also do Western riders, and some of the riders today had double bridles too.
Yeah.
How is that an advanced knowledge? Is that something you have to constantly be on top of? I mean, how do you know thousands of bridles?
So, I mean, that does come down to training, first of all.
Okay.
But I think you pick things up as you go along as well. I think I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but I always look back and think, how could I have done better, right? Or did I make a little bit of a sizing error here or there, you know? Anyone that's fitted with me is always welcome to email me. I'll tell them all that. Any of your questions, anything
Right.
like that, stay in contact with me.
Yes.
Want to send me a success story? Wonderful. You
Yes.
know. So there have been things I've picked up since doing it, and I'm, you know, have gone forward with doing it that way, as opposed to other ways. So.
You've been through what, 4 different bits?
I think so,
right?
4 or 5, yeah.
Tell me about that process and what you've learned.
Well, it's just been an interesting one, and there's been some maybe not so big differences between a couple of bits, but then this one in particular that I have on right now that I'm going to try again, he seems to be the most comfortable in it. Anyway, and it's also interesting to approach it from the point of view of asking the horse, like,
What
as a-
he
yeah,
likes.
what feels most comfortable
Yes,
to him.
yeah.
So really paying attention to that as opposed to paying attention to, you know, are you getting all the other stuff we pay attention
Right,
to.
yeah,
So this
exactly.
is just a different focus.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting experience.
Well, good. So it was worthwhile. For you to-
Absolutely
good.
worthwhile, and the lecture was excellent. So yes, absolutely a worthwhile.
Good. Well, I think the people that were fortunate to have you today feel so grateful.
Good.
And if someone wants to get in touch with you, I know you have a website.
I do.
How do they get in touch with you?
On my website can be found under the Equine Bit Fitter, and my Facebook pages my Facebook page and my Instagram page can be found under the Equine Bit Fitter.
Very good. Thank you so much for your time.
No problems. Thank you very much.
Sure.